Benjamin J. Grimm, everybody's favorite Rocky monster, the Thing, is a frontline initiator tank in Marvel Rivals. He's an off tank that can help protect your team, but he doesn't have significant block, so he definitely needs to use terrain or other vanguards to help split the damage off of him. He has the unique skill to remove enemy mobility abilities. This can really knock down enemy divers and stop people from being able to get away from him. He's a Brooklyn boxer that uses his skills to 1-2 punch his enemies down with a big haymaker to finish them off. His basic ability is Rocky Jab. It's just a quick and easy 1-2, nothing particularly special, but it does do a decent continuous chunk of damage. Stone Haymaker is his alternate fire, and this is really where his damage comes from. After a short delay, he unleashes a big punch. This creates a shockwave that gives it quite a bit of range, and is a really good chunk of damage. The ability doesn't have a cooldown, he can just keep hurling these things out, but they do lock him down a little bit, so you might be wanting to use your 1-2 jab for a target that's a little bit more slippery, where you're going to want to use this big haymaker to whittle targets down that you're able to get consistent damage off against. It does give you a little bit of range, and it's going to allow you to take out flyers. Pierces targets, it also pierces some shields. It's able to go through things like Doctor Strange and Invisible Woman's barriers. Every time you activate this ability, you do gain 50 bonus health, so weaving this in combat is going to make you a little bit more survivable. Utilize this to your advantage. Constantly hitting people with that big right hook and giving yourself that bonus HP makes it harder and harder for targets to take you down. You're going to be finding yourself spamming this ability quite a bit when you're playing the Thing. Embattled Leap is his E ability, which he can use on allies to leap to them and give both himself and them a boost of defenses, reducing all damage taken. This ability gives the Thing quite a bit of mobility options, being able to leap back to allies that have gotten dived onto, or be able to leap into a dive style tank, getting right into the enemy team. The boost of defensives that you get from this is extremely valuable, and you can protect a target from some really powerful abilities in the game just by being able to activate this and jumping to them in the right time. You're going to be using this quite often to protect allies and to get yourself moving around the arena. Yancey Street Charge is your left shift. This charge lasts for 8 seconds and allows you to run around the battlefield, knocking any targets up that you run into. At the end of the charge, or when you reactivate the ability, you'll slam down on the ground, creating a zone on the ground that stops movement-based abilities. This will absolutely lock down targets. Nobody's going to be able to jump away from you, dash, or even swing away for Venoms and Spider-Man. Everybody's going to have to move away slowly. You're going to be able to give those jabs and haymakers to take them down. This ability while you're charging also gives you a huge boost of 200 bonus HP. Utilize this to take some extra shots as you charge into the enemies. This bonus HP drops off rather quickly immediately after the charge, so you're going to want to use as much of that HP as you can while you're charging about, knocking targets up, and then slam down once the bonus HP is gone. Or if you need to really slam down and get onto the right target. Your backline is being focused on by a diver. Slamming the ground around your allies and creating this field will stop the divers from being able to use their escape mechanisms to get out. The control from this ability is massive if you use it correctly. You're going to want to be holding onto this, making sure you initiate it at the right time, and use the field as effectively as possible. Your ultimate ability, Clobberin' Time, will slam down on the ground in front of you, creating a big rocky shockwave forward. This effect will deal big damage and knock all targets up in front of you. With all the targets knocked up, you can send a haymaker shockwave down the line to deal burst damage to all the targets. This ability has a 15-meter range, so it can get a decent chunk of enemies, but it's not a long shot. Some tricks to this ability is that you can activate it while you're in the air. If you've managed to get around a target and get up to a higher vantage point, jumping off and then activating this, you can slam down on the ground behind enemies and surprise them, knocking them all up in the air, and then decimating their ranks. The damage you're able to do here with the Thing is huge, and he is going to be a real force to be reckoned with. When playing the Thing, you're going to be dealing a lot of damage and being a big disruptor, but it's really important to note that he is not a frontline vanguard. He is not really made to take the entire brunt of an enemy force because he doesn't have any blocks, shields, or really reliable escapes. It's your job to be protecting another target. You could be working with another tank, helping give them increased boosts of defensives, and making it threatening enough for enemies to be near them that they're going to think twice. Or you can be protecting your backline from enemy engagers, throwing hands with anybody that tries to come in and deal with your healers. While the Thing is big and rocky, he's pretty mobile around the arena, jumping about, slamming into enemies, and doing a decent chunk of damage. If you're slipping in and out of sight and hurling abilities, you're going to be quite influential, and your enemy's team is going to be really frustrated trying to take you down. He's got 2 team-up abilities. First up, if Wolverine is in the game, he gets the access to the Cosmic Fastball. This allows him to pick up Wolverine and hurl him, just like the Hulk is able to do. This gives Wolverine a really great way to engage into the enemy team and get onto targets faster. To follow this up, you can use your leap to chase after the Wolverine, giving both yourself and him the 40% damage reduction, and lay into the enemy backline. If the Invisible Woman is in the game, she can give you the ability to activate and gain a small amount of bonus HP that will continuously regenerate over a short period. This only makes up for lost health and should not be activated when you're at maximum HP. But using this during your embattled leap will give you a huge amount of bonus HP because of the reduced damage taken plus continuously regenerating HP is a really potent combo. Having Invisible Woman in the game is really going to take your defensive abilities to the next level and make you quite more of a force that enemies are going to have a difficult time taking down. As with all of these mobile style tanks, make sure that you're constantly jumping in and out of combat, using terrain to block hits, and not just standing there and taking the brunt of the enemy team. If you expect to be able to charge right directly into the enemy team without a care in the world, you're going to find yourself on the pavement. You need to come in at off angles and surprise enemies. You need to use your quick jumps and movement to move about the battlefield so that enemies can't keep their curses on you, and you're going to need to be able to do enough damage to be threatening. You're going to want to be barreling into the enemy team, slamming down on their back lines, and doing as much disruption in the back as possible, then quickly jumping back to your allies once you've gotten too much danger on you, or turn their attention away. This is how you create space for your team. You charging in forces their frontliners to turn around and come back to deal with you. Then you can lead back to your team and get pushes on your objective. Make sure you're not dying when you're doing this. If you're just charging in and hitting the pavement, you're making big mistakes. Instead, you want to be charging in, disrupting, using your bonus health, and when you're lowish, jumping back out. The 40% damage reduction from your leap is huge, and if you use it appropriately, you're going to stay alive for a lot longer than people think you could. Then you're just railing people with haymakers and making them have a bad day. Once you get into the groove and feel his character, it feels fantastic. The major hits of each of his different abilities, as well as how rewarding his charge is and his leaps are, just feels so good as you play Ben Grimm. I hope using this guide, you're going to be able to figure out how to master the Thing. In the next video, we're going to talk about another New Yorker, the Winter Soldier. This time-lost soldier is a really powerful force to be reckoned with, and one of the best characters to learn if you want to climb successfully in Marvel Rivals. But we'll talk about that next time.
Sazaze.